सही समय है विचारों का मैदान। बोल दिखाओ अपनी भाषा में, सब है तैयार। राइट और रॉन्ग में क्या डिफरेंस है, दे दो अपना ज्ञान। Let everyone around you know what it's time for। सही समय है, सही समय है।
It's time to kickstart the heart of the event, since all of us here have gathered for the New India debate. The topic chosen for tonight's debate is one of great significance, one that sparks intellectual discourse and critical thinking. Anti-UCC is anti-women empowerment. This topic is sure to ignite a passion and exchange of ideas and perspectives, and we can't wait to witness it unfold. The four debaters who have been selected amongst a group of 40 debaters are here with us today, and I would like to invite them on stage, please. A huge round of applause for all the four debaters.
Let me invite the team for the motion, Saharsa Raghuraman, to the podium.
You must be the change you want to see in the world. A very good evening to the esteemed judges, learned debaters, moderator, and the audience. My name is Sahasra Raghuraman, and I stand before you today strongly for the motion anti-UCC is anti-women empowerment. The Uniform Civil Code, often abbreviated as UCC, is not merely a legal construct. It represents the aspirations for a just and equitable society, where personal laws do not curb the rights and privileges based on their cultural or religious identity. Today, we find ourselves at the crossroads of history, grappling with the question whether to embrace a legal framework that unifies personal laws or to perpetuate a system that thrives on subjectivity. Our reluctance to adopt the UCC has roots in the fear of religious repercussions. When we permit personal laws to govern crucial aspects of individuals' lives, we inadvertently endorse and perpetuate gender-based discrimination. Let's not forget that it took significant battles to abolish practices like triple talaq and sati in our country. According to the National Crime Records Bureau of India in 2020, crimes against women, which remain highly in regions governed by personal laws that are not aligned with principles of gender equality. Approximately 30% of Indian women do reveal that they do not have more than 20% of agricultural land that's been given to them. Is that fair, my audience? A United Nations Development Programme study reveals that women in India typically inherit only 20% of agricultural land. In Goa, where a system unlike to UCC, equal division of property between spouses is mandated to ensure a balanced economy. Moreover, countries like Tunisia successfully adopted Uniform Civil Code, resulting in significant advancements in women's rights and gender equality. With that, I would like to conclude by saying, UCC is not a legal reform, it is a moral imperative. We cannot allow religion or cultural diversity to be a smokescreen behind which gender bias lies. Therefore, the time for UCC is now. Thank you.
Wow, that was to the point in 2 minutes. Well done, Saharsa. Now let's invite Shreya Parekh for her opening remarks.
Teach her that the idea of gender roles is absolute nonsense. Do not ever tell her that you should or should not do something just because you're a girl. Because you're a girl is not the reason for anything ever. Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. A very good evening to everyone present here. Let me get into my topic. I, Shreya Parekh, stand strongly for the motion anti-UCC is anti-women's empowerment. Based on what my teammates said, I'm going to pick up from there. Since time immemorial, numerous personal laws in the country have led to a great perpetuation of gender discrimination. Let me take an example of the prevalent polygamy in today's India. 1.9% of Muslim marriages, 1.6% of other religious communities, and 1.3% of Hindu marriages are polygamous. Along with this and multiple other laws that my teammate put forward, gender discrimination has been perpetuated since the last centuries in this country. At this time, we look at women at a state that is extremely disheartening. It is appalling to look at their state once you go down that disheartening rabbit hole. The percentage of women in the Indian workforce has gone down from 33% to 25%. a staggering 27% of women are married off at a young age. When you look at all of these numbers, you see why the UCC is going to make it a very important thing in today's India. Women are making their marks in higher education, in business, in government, and we are just a quarter of an inch away from making a huge difference and breaking the glass ceiling. And this quarter of an inch, I believe, is where UCC comes into the picture. At this point, women from our country need the support that we as a nation can give them just to show everyone how much achievement and development half the population of this country can bring. Thank you so much.
Nicely done, Shreya. The team for the motion has made some very compelling arguments. Now let's see how against the motion team is going to rebut them. First, let's hear their opening marks. Come on.
Is uniformity tantamount to equality? I would like everyone in the audience to think about it. Greetings everyone, my name is Advika Agarwal and I will be talking against the motion that is anti-UCC, is anti-women empowerment. I stand here in front of you strongly to debunk the notion that by going against the Uniform Civil Code, we go against women empowerment. I'll break my argument in two segments. What is meant by UCC and what exactly do we curtail to when we mean women empowerment, and what the UCC entails for us as women and its need in the country. According to Article 44, the state shall endeavour to secure for all citizens a uniform civil code that is uniform throughout the territory of India. This article provides for a framework for a single unified set of personal laws that would govern all citizens irrespective of their religions. Women empowerment, on the other hand, is fostering an environment where women can make informed decisions and achieve their aspirations without any discrimination or fear. The very essence of right to equality guaranteed under Article 14 of the Constitution is based on the concept of intelligible differentia. We are of a country of 1.5 billion people. Does everyone in the country enjoy an equal footing? Now let's talk about what the UCC has to offer. The idea of Uniform Civil Code has been touted around, but there is a lot of ambiguity around it. The initiation of the debate is very problematic in itself because there is no skeletal proposal in our hand. Mind you, there is no draft template in the public domain for us to cite. How are we so sure that by implementing the Uniform Civil Code, we are empowering women? Or for that matter, by not implementing it, we're not empowering women. Advocating for targeted reforms within the specific communities rather than UCC is a more nuanced way to achieve true women empowerment. Thank you.
Wonderful. Nicely timed, Advika. Now let's invite Tarun Sridharan. Let's welcome him, guys.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tarun S. and I'll be extending the debate from the against portion. Now, firstly, I'll be dividing my debate into two strategies. Firstly would be what is the UCC as per our perspective and how the current status quo is beneficial rather than having a blanket law such as the UCC. Now, from our perspective, the UCC in its crux is aimed towards a uniform and equitable set of personal laws applicable to all citizens of India, regardless of their religion, sex, place of birth, etc. In its first place value level, it is understood as a great societal reform that is aimed towards benefiting each and every person in society. Therefore, it is crucial to look at who are the stakeholders of this debate. The stakeholders in this debate are the government as well as the women who seek to benefit out of this reform. Which would then take me to the second part of my debate, which is how the current status quo is the beneficial form of women empowerment. Now, the implications of a blanket law such as the UCC is that it would, in a sense, be established over the already existing women empowerment laws that are been fought for over decades throughout the country. These are known as special laws that seek to empower women and protect them from biased and partial views of society that have been put on them throughout ages. They encompass all women, and in a sense, they themselves are blanket laws. Special laws such as the Domestic Violence Act, for example, has been beneficial in reducing the rates of domestic violence in Indian households from staggering 40% to just 28%. It is important that the government not stagnate women empowerment. I'd also like to bring to the focus of this audience regarding how the framers of the UCC have tackled women empowerment. It is a known fact that the framers of the UCC did not consult the Women's Association of India, rather just consulted the religious leaders of various large religions in the country. Thereby, this lackluster behavior from them is completely irresponsible in terms of an equitable law that is progressive for all people in India. Therefore, I again like to emphasize and conclude that it is vital for the government to protect and propagate special laws such as the Domestic Violence Act as well as the POSH Act for Women Empowerment. Thank you so much.
Both the teams had some really, really compelling arguments to make. But now let's hear the rebuttal. We move to the second segment. Let's invite Saharsa.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I think we're to the rebuttal section of this debate. Firstly, I would like to mention that my learned opposition mentioned that the lines of the law, or rather the modus operandi of the law, is to ensure that equality is given to every single person out there, irrespective of their gender, sex, caste, anything whatsoever, which is also enshrined in our preamble, enshrined in our constitution. Mind you, equality under Article 14 also mentions that every single person shall be treated under the eyes of the law exactly the same way, be it man, woman, transgender, or whichever sexuality or creed that they subscribe to. I believe that with this, we need to understand the need for UCC as of now is to go with the times, not to complain about the fact that personal laws are not being respected over here. It's important to understand we must evolve with the tandem in social progress. As a nation, if we succumb to perpetuating gender discrimination and hindering women's empowerment under the garb of religion, secularism, and honoring faith, mind us, we will not be as progressive as a nation we are. We, India, are a developing country. We need to respect our women. Through our times, be it the feminist motion, be it any kind of revolution that we have to uplift women, voting rights, marriage. In Muslim law, we also have this particular concept for the audience's sake, which is the fact that women are married from the age of 16. Do you think, as the audience, that is fine? Is it okay for a child at the tender age of 15 to be married to a random person out there without any law governing it? Are we protecting the children of our country? Let's think about that.
Let us have Shreya make her points for the rebuttal.
All right. So let me just look at some things that my able opposition has mentioned here. They have said that the UCC is basically a set of equal personal laws that is going to be coming up. Rather, the UCC is trying to replace a bunch of personal laws so that everything is equal. I would like to ask my able opposition if you are fine with the fact that secularism can cost women their freedom, their justice, their liberty and their equality. वो कहते हैं जब आग लगे तब कुआं खोदने नहीं जाना चाहिए. This is where I would like to point that the laws that we are coming up with are more retrospective than they are prospective. Thank you so much.
Let's have a round of applause. Bigger round of applause for her. Come on. Very nicely put. Now from the team against the motion, who do we have? Advika is coming.
My learned opposition talked about various aspects. She talked about an equitable society. She talked about child marriage. She spoke about the territories, the states, and the nations which have implemented UCC. Let's look at it one by one. I think my opposition needs to go back and learn about Article 14 all over again. It talks about intelligible differentia, where we're talking about an equitable society, where we talk about equality for equals. We do not treat the entire population of the country as same. Coming to child marriage, when she spoke about how we as a population can accept the fact that a 15-year-old girl or a 16-year-old girl is married to a random person. For the same, we have implemented Prevention of Child Marriage Act, which need not have to be a blanket law, which needs to transform every single aspect of the personal laws that are already existing. Next, I come to the territories or the nations or the states that have already implemented UCC. My opposition mentioned that there have been states and nations which have implemented UCC and they're living a good life. Let's talk about certain nations. Pakistan, the US, Bangladesh, Indonesia, all have implemented the Uniform Civil Code. And yet, Pakistan remains the fourth most dangerous country for women.
Thank you so much. Let's invite Tarun.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to point out two factual inaccuracies, one logical fallacy with the statement, as well as how the debate has not been addressed by the opposition party at all. Firstly, the two factual inaccuracies. The speaker had stated that personal laws are not the solution here, and personal laws have not been creating any sort of specification to the problems of the people. Personal laws are the solution here. Personal laws such as the Divorce Act, such as the Prevention of Child Marriages Act are the solution to problems with the women here. Then they stated that the other factual inaccuracy being that the percentage of women workforce has reduced. Percentage of women workforce has been increased due to the introduction of the Prevention of Sexual Harassment at the Workplace Act, as well as in addition is that there has been a lower case of harassment at the workplace due to this act as well. Now, coming to the logical fallacy here is that they have stated lower employment rates, but there's also been higher women participation in professional realms. That is clearly against the logical sense here, because if you have that two contradicting statements, it doesn't make a full statement. And lastly, the essence of the debate is regarding how specific issues of women, especially minority groups of women, are to be addressed through a general law such as the UCC. Now, the opposition has clearly failed to show us as to how a general law such as the UCC would help, say, women from the Sikh community, women from the Buddhist community. They have just brushed aside these aspects, whereas the opposition has focused mainly on professional workforces, and again, the majority groups that we all know are being treated well through the UCC. So that I'd like to conclude. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of this second segment of the media debates. Now we move on to the third segment, where before they give rebuttals to what they just covered, I'm going to ask them in their concluding remarks. Before that, I'm going to ask them one question each. So let me invite the speaker from team for the motion for their question. So Saharsa will be answering. The question for the motion is, even if some personal laws are against women, why should the state interfere in the personal laws?
Thank you, ma'am, for that question. I think this question dwells into the very essence of our democracy, and it deserves a very thoughtful consideration. Personal laws and religions are deeply intertwined, and I acknowledge the sensitivity of this issue. However, we must also acknowledge that personal laws, particularly in the context of gender rights, have often been used as tools of discrimination. When personal laws systematically disadvantage one gender and deny the other rightful autonomy, it becomes a societal concern that necessitates state intervention. Firstly, let's consider the practice of triple talaq in India, which allowed men to unilaterally divorce their wives with no provision for the wife's consent or support. This was later declared unconstitutional in India by the Muslim Women Protection of Rights on Divorce Act 1986. Prior to the amendment of 2005 of the Hindu Succession Act, where discrimination against daughters was prevalent heavily, where they were only granted limited inheritance and rights to ancestral property. The third point that I would like to make is the Indian Divorce Act 1869, which governs Christian marriages, was amended in 2001 to include the provisions for divorce under certain grounds, providing relief to women to such situations. In my stance, therefore, moderator and my fellow audience, personal laws must evolve with tandem with social progress, and gender equality should not be sacrificed at the altar of personal laws. If we as a nation were to succumb to perpetuating gender discrimination and hindering women's development, or let's even say turn a complete blind eye to the very essence of our fundamental rights of life, liberty, justice, and equality, the reason for not having UCC under the garb of religion can be clearly as seen a wolf in sheep's clothing of a society that believes in inequality and suppression of women. Are we as a society, my dear audience, ready to sacrifice the rights and freedoms of our mothers and sisters for the flawed idea of secularism? Let's think about that. Thank you.
Now let's ask the team against the motion one question. Advika will be joining us to answer the question. The question is, how can you champion the cause of women empowerment when you are too scared of the religious diktats?
Thank you, ma'am, for the lovely question. While talking about the religious diktats, I would like to bring to notice that no one is shying away from the religious diktats. We are not scared of the religious diktats to impose certain amendments. If we were scared of the religious diktats, we wouldn't have imposed acts like triple talaq. That created a lot of chaos in our country. But we still we still enforced triple talaq in our country. We want to foster an environment where we coexist peacefully.
if we do bring in the uniform civil code, we're destroying the basic structure of our constitution. We are a country that takes a lot of pride in our diversity. We are a country that takes a lot of pride in the different cultures that we have. If we bring in the uniform civil code, aren't we destroying the mere fabric on what our country is based on? We here are not scared of religious repercussions per se, but we want everyone to coexist peacefully, and we are more than welcome for any amendments in the personal laws that exist right now. Thank you.
Let's invite the team for the motion for their concluding.
Before I start, a very important thing I would like to point out. When the opposition mentions they're fine with amending laws one by one, I think they were clearly okay with triple talaq until it was amended. You cannot wait for laws to be amended before you think about them. Just because some communities have not been mentioned does not disregard the status of their community in our country. Religion is a part of our country. We are not disregarding faith, but we are presenting the stark reality of personal laws. Throughout the discourse, we have marshaled compelling arguments supported by irrefutable evidence, shedding light on the reality that we have talked about. In the words of the eminent jurist Justice V.R. Krishna Iyer, justice is the sum of all moral duty. As we stand at this pivotal juncture, let us reflect on this fundamental question. In our relentless pursuit of more inclusive and just society, can we afford to deny women the empowerment that they rightfully deserve? Should we allow the atrocities against women to keep going on unless and until someone does not come up in front of a Supreme Court saying they are clearly not fine with this? Thank you. As we march forward in this noble pursuit of a more just and empowered society, I would like to conclude our stance. Thank you so much and have a good day, everyone.
Now let's have the concluding remarks of the team against the motion.
Ladies and gentlemen, as my concluding remarks, I'll be dividing into two parts. Firstly, I'll be talking about the summary of the debate from the side government. Government has clearly failed to address what would be the legal status of the already existing acts that are towards women empowerment, as they say. And the government has also clearly pointed out through their arguments that they are impatient and want to fix a broken pipe with a band-aid, merely a short-term solution for a long-term problem in our view. Now, coming to what we like to put forward. The UCC is majority in position over minorities, and if it doesn't happen, it will be that the majority is not okay about it. Dynamic societies such as what we live in India today with diverse communities will not be okay with having a general law that has been put forth, say, in the year 2023 and 2024, it would be something else. It is important to acknowledge the differences and understanding that equity is important. Now, speaking about equity, UCC is based on an equitable difference. Rather, it is not based on equitable difference, my bad. It is based on a blind equitable indifference. Thereby, it does not purport to stand for what it seeks to in the long run. It is just a short-term solution for what problems that minority groups would feel on the long run as well. So with this, I'd like to end on the note that it is discrimination, not difference, that leads to inequality. And with that, I'd be proud to oppose. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That brings us to the end of the New India debates.
I would now like to call upon stage Mr. Sujeet Kumar.
How our startup ecosystem has progressed over time. You guys should also understand what are the elements which led this change, what works, what hasn't worked, what's working, how it's changing. I call it a new economy, and definitely under the leadership of our Prime Minister, there are lots of things that happened in last 9 years, especially after 2016 when he came up with the startup policy in January. So we'll see that these are factual slides. Anybody can go on internet and find all those facts what we have mentioned here. Let's go through this presentation. So these are some of the things in Gene 20, some biofuel Indian government has announced. They say how it will become big. It's an idea what we're talking about, like a startup. Idea is the most important. After that, the most important aspect, how people execute. And in that execution, the ecosystem and policies and the environment matters a lot. I think this is just a highlight what we have achieved this through this G20 our meeting, which was successfully and most amazingly hosted by our country. We should be really proud of that. Uh, I think the key points here in this overall presentation, there are three things, like startup, their background story, initiatives, and where the India stands. So if you'll see, startup really has, let's say Flipkart, we have founded in 2007, October. And you guys will be amazed in that 2007, I don't know how many of you know that at that time, how many internet users were there? Any guess? Though I have told you multiple time in my podcast also, it was 7-8 millions broadbands. No smartphone, no other internet means method. On that, we were building Flipkart on desktop. It was not even mobile. Mobile we have launched in 2000, around 2012. So with that, I think journey has started somewhere. It has been seeded by multiple people, but in the modern format, if you say that startup was taking the shape after 2007, 2008. And I proudly say that, I always say that as a, you can say that as a proud founders and being part of the most successful story till now. That's the starting point of a startup ecosystem. Though there were more companies like Make My Trip and all were there, but I think Flipkart was one of the most successfully, global successful company. So if you'll see, there are lots of landscape in what's the Indian scenario, need for a startup, all these things, like I said, you know that, but we are just saying that, hey, how a startup in last 5-6 years globally has changed, and no old brands are, like in last 10 years, if you'll see, these are the brands were top of the mind globally and locally. Even if you'll see, most of the talent we are attracting from any of the campus, if you'll see, best of the talent join startup. It was not the scenario when we have started in 2007, 2008, because people were afraid of, hey, what kind of my career will going to shape. People were not ready to join, giving up their so-called MNC's career. And I come from IIT Delhi. So for us also, joining some MNC rather than working on our own idea was under huge pressure from our parents, from our society, from the friends and families, because they say that, hey, why you guys, and we started with the books. And people say that after all your degree, engineering degree, you are selling books online, who all these people will going to buy? Because this was a new concept and there was no ecosystem, no delivery, no online transaction payments. Who would have thought in less than 15 years, India is the largest online payment ecosystems. At that time, even you are not getting a payment gateway connections for your startup. So we have traveled a lot. These are some of the examples how things has taken the top of the mind. So early journey, you can say the momentum in early 2000, but I think really, like I told you, it has picked up when some broadband, the number like 7-8 millions, and after 2012, smartphone was booming, and on that internet came. But actual internet has reached to the masses in 2014 when this 4G entered and Geo has made that possible to give this internet access to the common man. So those revolution has happened, and government has made lots of policies which also fueled the whole ecosystem. Earlier, it was impossible. In India, before GST, it was very hard to build a business because every state have their own taxes. So creating an infrastructure and being taking care of all the compliances, it was almost a nightmare, and the cost of being a compliances was very high. So one country, one tax, which came into July 2017, has changed the whole scenario in India. And one has to understand that that's the role of the government. And that's why I give the credit to the government, even though our startup policy 2016 came in in January, but the reforms which are these are the reforms which has led from front and inspired various entrepreneurs to build this ecosystem. Again, these are some of the data, guys. You can like I said that you can simply see that what the government has worked upon. They have seen there are millions of jobs got created. Any guess, let's say today, and I can proudly say that Flipkart, you guys can, any guess how many employees are there directly in Flipkart? More than 200,000 jobs it has been given. 200,000. Not a single company or any initiatives had directly created that much of job. I'm talking about direct jobs. Indirect, it can be in million. Because lots of seller ecosystem they have employed for taking care of their own brands online and all. So I think those things are, these are the one of the success story, and we need more success story like that. And there are multiples, because there are almost more than 100 unicorns. Though again I am saying that in our ecosystems currently we are going through the tough phase. We call it a funding winter because of the global scenario. Lots of, I'm not going to call it recession, because Indian economy is doing great, and if you'll see, all the numbers are much ahead of in comparison to any other country. But at the same time, mostly India received money from outside, as if from the VC fund or from the PE fund. They are holding up from last 1.5 years. So we call it funding winter, because if you'll not fund, go to market, finding the right product for the market, it takes times, minimum 4 years to 7 years. Like still, if you'll see, we are finding product market fit even for Udaan, even after 7 years, we are still working on that. It's not like it's a profit making business. It's not. Still we are investing money to find right product for this ecosystem. Yeah. Reform, perform and transform. Like this government has definitely has given a serious thought how these things make this startup a real and our new economy. I call it new economy. Startup is something, is an idea, but new economy is seriousness, where you start working on the unit economics, building real ideas. And if you'll see, in last 5-6 years, multiple company has gone for IPOs. It hasn't happened in first 10-12 years of startup ecosystem. But if you'll see, Zomato has gone for IPO, our Paytm has gone for IPO, our delivery has gone for IPO. All these companies are around 10 to 12 years old in this ecosystem. But if you'll see, there are more than 10-12 companies are lined up for IPO, which has a healthy economics. And that is very encouraging in the world, because any investors who invest money in a startup or any company, their exit is also important. If somebody is investing, if you're not giving the return, nobody will going to come and fuel or give further money. So these are the right way where the companies are going for IPO, means their business is real, ideas are real, and the opportunities are real. So some of the reform, perform, and we are in that journey. And I think credit one have to give to our current government, how seriously there is a ministry, there is a department who is continuously working and taking care of how to make it big and solving the problem and customizing also, from like for the health tech what you require, for agri tech what you require, for fintech what you require, for commerce what you require, for B2B what you require, and they are going customizing sector to sector. Yeah, again, some of the, when it has been released on 16th of January, our former late finance minister is also, you can see. And the impact of this 2016 startup policy, you can, so before coming, there are numbers of unicorns, you can see that. And after 2016, more than hundreds of unicorns has been created. And yeah, there are many more, like in 2022, you can see less, because the funding winter still continues. And if these are the phenomena, it goes in up and down, but once it starts settles, means your base has been raised. And downtime or funding winter is a good for our ecosystem, because then you start seriously thinking, if there is no money, how to stress upon your innovations, finding a product more relevant, for frugality, building a culture, so you are not spending money and growing, rather than unit economics you are fixing. So these are some of the startup portals when they use some of the things, how the government has created this amount of funds, tax exemptions has been created so that the money, legitimate money should find the way in a startup ecosystem, so that the domestic monies, not only the foreign money, domestic money should also help to grow the ecosystem. And and the government is solving that problem also. Lots of tax exemptions has been provided, giving angel tax rebate, three years tax exemption for a startup. I think all these things are encouraging people to invest money in this ecosystem, so that earlier, if you'll see, whole ecosystem was revolving around Bangalore or NCR or little bit of Mumbai. But if you'll see in last 5-6 years, the startup has penetrated, really penetrated in tier 2, tier 3 also. If we'll say now the new centers like Jaipur, Indore, and every state is fighting, is pitching to, and they are opening an incubator, accelerator for startups. And also they are encouraging to solve their local problems. So some of the ideas which are solving either in agri-tech or in some local problem, so that people can find a real idea which working locally. So these are some of the highlights of how the government, like I was saying, no angel tax exemption, incubator support, income tax exemption facility, patent filing. So patent filing, these are the things where when you are protecting your IPs, IP is the most important aspect. See, if you are creating an IP and nobody is protecting, means somebody will going to steal. So to create a value, government has to come and come up with some of the laws which can protect these IPs. It can geotag in nature, it can local in nature. Again, the policy, some of the highlights, I think you guys can, like I said, that you can, these are more factual in nature. Government has created the 10,000 crore corpus, which are funds of funds, means like SIDBI is becoming LP to lots of. So not only startup ecosystem is thriving, if you'll see the whole VC ecosystem, which are Indian VC has been also founded in last 4-5 years. And if I'm not wrong, small and big, Series A, Series B funding, almost like 50-60 legitimate VC has been founded out of India. Means Indian money or Indian the HNIs, the family offices are also investing in as a LP, or they are founding some of the funds so that they can invest in these startup ideas. So these are the number of incubator, accelerator. The incubator means they are, I think there is a basic difference. Accelerator, mostly I think university and all, they incubate because students are there, they have the idea. So some of the professor being a part of it, finding the structure, how professor or students can be benefited out of that facilities. And also university come up these incubator ideas, so that they can take exemptions of some of the years of regular education and they can focus on their ideas. So lots of universities are giving exemptions for like I know for Pilani has given like in final year you can leave and you can come back anytime and complete it. Again, these are the some of the numbers, how it has been incubated in the high education institute, where like IITs or Pilanis, they have incubated these kind of companies in their own campuses when the student came up with the ideas. And these are the ecosystem, how they're mentors, because there are alumni which can, like I come from, let's say, IIT Delhi, and I'm also a founder of the IIT Delhi Endowment Fund. So I'm a part of that. I sit on their board also. I think idea was to how the institute should get independent financially. And there are lots of we have a strong alumni systems globally. How they can give back to the society and give money to, if you'll see any of the Harvard or any of the best institute in out of US or anywhere in the world, they have their own financial ecosystems, and these alumni supports them. They give their money, and if you'll see, like some of them multi-billion-dollar endowment funds. Our idea, we have also incubated this, and government supports that, because earlier, and I'm just giving an example, in IIT Act, you cannot, all the dependency government has to fund. Now government came with the reform, we can have our own endowment fund, and we can influence the education, which is more relevant for solving the current problems, rather than having those traditional BTechs where might be it's not relevant for our society solving problem. Endowment funds can influence them, their own curriculum, so that it's more relevant education can. So I think whole ecosystem where mentoring, guidance, training, funding, all those things they are solving, so that you should focus on your ideas and learn during those times. And these are some of the hotspots of startup ecosystems, which states leading from front. You can see that, but here you can say that NCR region, Gujarat and all. But most of the funding, if you'll see, goes to Bangalore ecosystem and NCR. First, Bangalore, out of all the 100 unicorns, most of them are in those 2-3 locations. We have to spread them, and government is trying hard to give the incentive so that all these startup can go in tier 2, tier 3 cities and everywhere. Like eastern side, if you'll see that whole ecosystem not emerging that much. And they have to find and come migrate toward either Bangalore or Delhi or Mumbai or Hyderabad for their ideas. Now they should not go. And all the governments are also funding the startups, or they are finding a institution so that it can be locally supported. And these are some of the sectors, how many startups has been founded, and which I think number of startups are more. These are the why either some kind of funding has happened. That's why these are the numbers. But startups can be in lakhs. Again, these are the sectors, how much money has gone, how many numbers of startups got those fundings, who all are supporting, all these things you guys understand. Because some of the funds they said that, hey, I will only support fintech or commerce or agri-tech or impact. So those are the funds, but there are many more. Agri startup as a, like, because agriculture in something in India is still 65% of the people are directly indirectly attached with the agriculture. So our agriculture has a huge scope. And last 4-5 years, lots of agri-tech has found those ideas and capital also. And they are really innovative. The production is increasing, the relevant cash crops where they are getting more yield for the per unit production. So all those things, and government is really supporting that and encouraging the funds and the ideas, so that agriculture should be going through the transformation. Like these are some of the examples how government is facilitating drones and all. Yeah, expanding space tech is another. So government has, if you'll see, when the new government came into existence, the first thing, we have a huge defense budget, almost like more around 70-80 billion dollar, and it will going to go and double in next 5 years. And huge portion of that goes to import all the ammunitions and the infrastructure from outside. Government has bring 70% of the production has to happen in India. And space tech, which are like future defense, and also that will help you to increase the yield, productions, more traffic, everything, internet. They are encouraging, and government has brought lots of reform in that sector. Earlier, it was not allowed for any private body to enter into these sectors. Now it's easy, and there are lots of company has already entered and doing amazing works like Agnikul. I know they have sent lots of satellite already in the space. Somebody like Elon Musk kind of things are going to happen, because those reforms will allow them to have their own reusable rocket can be experimented. So these are the great initiative government has done. Like this unicorn club is just a, one should not be fascinated by unicorn. It's a hindsight. It's just a PR matrix. In my mind, the person has to focus on idea. Valuation, like valuation is a secondary matrix. Somebody cannot say that, hey, I will create a unicorn. No, that's a secondary. Somebody can say that, no, that's the unicorn I have to create. No, I think that's a wrong matrix. Unicorn are just a PR matrix. We are, I say that we are the third largest ecosystem in the world as a startup. But if you'll see the Indian minds and include all the US startup ecosystems and the support, already we are much ahead of others. Now, how to make this largest, which are solving Indian problems and Indian ecosystems, I think that's our focus, and government saying the same thing. Earlier, in a startup ecosystem, the economic incentive was not aligned. So lots of companies get incubated outside of India. And if it is amazing, in last 4-5 years, government was solving one by one every problem, so that now there is no difference if you are incubating your company outside of India. There is no upside. Earlier there was, in fact, Flipkart we have incubated in Singapore. Even Udaan I have incubated in Singapore. Because it's a much better to raise capital, give exit, less paperwork. All those advantages has gone away. So these are the, again, some of the how many unicorns, sunicorns, like they are very near to become unicorns called sunicorns, and these are the capital, combined capital it has been raised, their valuations, which are the sectors where the top sectors are like e-commerce, fintech. In e-commerce means commerce, which are D2C or like Flipkart, like Misho, yeah, Zepto. So again, these are factual things. 46% of startup has at least one woman director. So I think these are the healthy, like how the whole ecosystem is still, if you'll see, women entrepreneurs are not what it should be, they are not there. And lots of, now there are funds which are only focusing on women entrepreneurs. They have been, if you are a woman entrepreneur, for you, it's much easier to raise money. And if, I think these are the focus which balance in the long term. And we have to encourage more and more women entrepreneurs in our ecosystems. Yeah. So the framework, transformations, funding amount, their funding amount. So 2023, and like, see 24, what it was in 2014 and 2023, all the metrics has gone through huge transformation. And more will going to happen like 2030. Even that will look the 2023 and 2030 if you'll put, it will be on the similar scale or much bigger scale. So that's how it's growing. And if you'll see, this will going to, here the might be numbers are not that similar, but the valuation will be much bigger. Again, these are the job creations, but direct, I think there are many more jobs has been created. And government also knows that these are the way we have to change our mindset. The biggest job creation and transformation will going to happen with the new economy. It will not going to be the traditional economy which takes care of our requirements of employment. Again, some of the data, like how many graduations and other things here. Before 24 and after 24, these are the main things which some of the PR headings. Yeah, so these are the government has achieved this till now. They have achieved these things, and they are very serious about our new economy. And especially Prime Minister in any of the speech and at their address, they never forget to take the new economy and their impact. And guys, you guys have to also and I'm welcoming you guys be part of this ecosystem, because that's the only way personally also you grow as well as you make others inspire and grow in this society. Thank you, guys.
As we've seen recent developments in China's image around the globe, China's image around the globe, we've noticed a trend that most of the companies, either manufacturing or processing companies, have moved to India, have set up their shops in India. Have you personally seen any on the ground or any changes, good or bad, in our economy resulting in that? And if so, could you please elaborate on that? Thank you.
Yeah, I think if you'll see, it's as a sea change has happened on the surface. There is a policy globally. People are China plus one. India is leading from front. Commercially also, if you'll see, overall export is growing much faster. And all these proof in the pudding, he not only manufacturing, we are growing on all the fronts. So, but see, we have to create that environment, like lots of reform, infrastructure, and country like India, if you'll see, lots of sector like our port, our road, our like if you'll see our Indian Railway, their standard has our airport. Am I right? All these world-class infrastructure gives the confidence, and we are integrating more and more with the outside world, which gives them the confidence. Investor today, India is the only country where all the investors are looking forward to invest the money, not the China. So I think these are the proof. You don't have to ask, well, we can ask these questions, and we are accelerating every day. And I believe in next 4, 5, 6, 7, next 15 years, it's in the worldwide, it's the India time. And the best thing, one should stay in India rather than going outside.
That's right. That's why our slogan, yahi samay hai, sahi samay hai.
Yeah.
Right? So do we have any more questions?
Hello, good evening, sir. My name
Good
is
evening.
Gurveer Singh here. I am a PGDM student from 22-24 batch. Just following up on the last question, sir. What are the new manufacturing avenues do you see as an individual that are coming up in India? Because like we associate semiconductors with Taiwan, we associate global manufacturing with China. Like, where do you see India would? How does India emerge into all of this global play? Like, what would be the flagship product with which India can enter the global markets?
I think that's a great question. But if you'll see all the sectors, like in China was almost manufacturing everything. And if you'll see, India is already entering into every sector, partially first, and then like all these defense manufacturing. So all these are manufacturing only. If we'll see, there are three kind of manufacturing. One is like base manufacturing. One is like a bit more complex manufacturing. Third is the specialized manufacturing, where you command lots of precisions, you need technology and all. Like this, India becoming third or fourth country to manufacture and stressing upon manufacturing chips. I think that's a great move because that's a high precision manufacturing. Earlier has only been commanded by Taiwan, US and China. Now India is investing and going all out. That shows the capability and confidence of India. We can manufacture everything. But like I said, the basic, we are correcting, as a country, we are correcting lots of things like infrastructure. And infrastructure is not only infrastructure, like bringing skilled labor, training them. We have to fix lots of things. And we are fixing. We are on the right path. That's why if you'll see worldwide, we are the fastest growing economy, even in this recession time, where most of the European countries it's very hard to even keep up the 0% growth.
I'm Rishi. I'm a BBA LLB first year student. So my question was about, so when I saw the concentration of the startup companies across India, it was mainly concentrated in places where there were cities and all of those. And you even mentioned there were not many the startup culture hasn't reached the northeastern states of India. Sir, so my question is, do you believe it has actually not reached those states, or is it because most of them are this unofficial?
No. I think, like I said, that once the policy came into existence, if you'll see earlier, the whole startups ecosystem was only Bangalore and NCR, or some bit of Mumbai. Now I'll show you there is already Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi, Indore, Jaipur, Pune, Hyderabad. even smaller cities like Ahmedabad. So these are the progress, and I see next time it will be Patna, Calcutta. Already they are very active. So all these things are happening. Bhubaneswar. So first, because if you'll see, in lots of excellent education systems are being part of those regions, and infrastructures, capital, people are finding a way. Now there are lots of startup coming out of tier 2, tier 3 city which are solving the relevant problem. In D2C brand, I can say that safely there are lots of companies successfully manufacturing great goods which are selling and getting the capital access so that they can scale.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
I would request the participants to please come up on stage. Okay, so we have the results with us here. So the winning team goes to Shreya Parekh and Sahasra Raghuraman. They were speaking for the motion. And the participation certificate goes to Tarun and Advika Agarwal. They were against the motion.
सही समय है